Welcome to the worst of the best podcast. You wanted the best. Well, they didn't freaking make it. So here's what you get. From Canada, Ryan and
Jason. Good day and welcome to another episode of the Worst of the Best podcast. I'm your host, Ryan, and with me again, of course, well, not of course, I should say again, Jason, my brother, co-host extraordinaire. How are you doing today?
Doing good, brother. Good to see you. Good to talk with you this week.
Yeah, and at the time of this recording, Jason just had his birthday. I won't say your age. I don't want to out you to the masses and all the female fans. You know, will see you and let them think whatever age you are, but. Yeah, happy birthday.
Let's just put it this way. I am the older brher.
You're older than me. That's true.
Yeah.
And I will say I have a big birthday coming up this year. The big 5-0. I sort of outed you a little bit. Yeah, I'm excited for that. All right. Speaking of happy thoughts and happy birthdays and happy thoughts, we've done a few episodes recently. They're not like depressing, but they're tough subjects. And I thought today, Jason, maybe we do something a little bit lighter. A little bit more, maybe even fun, but just a lighter, fun topic in that we're going to talk about this year in 2025. Often when we do our yearly episodes, we'll do the most Googled things. Of course, the celebrity deaths is our most fun one. We've had some good ones so far this year. But we haven't done a mid-year episode. So we're halfway through the year almost at the time it's recording, if you can believe it. And already, yeah, it's crazy. Already this year, though, Jay, this was some pretty historical first. This is the first XYZ. This is the first ABC. And when I did this list, I was like, holy smokes, I can't believe this thing happened. Like I didn't even hear of this story. This is some big stuff today. So
will this be the first podcast that we have a listener?
This might be the first one we have more than 10 listeners. So let's stand by for that. All right. Well, Jay, let's just get right into it. Now, this one, of course, we all know about, but this will give you an idea of what I'm talking about. So we just had a new pope. The world was blessed, Jason, with a new pope. Without looking, do you remember his name?
Alexander? I don't know.
Good. See, Jason and I are Catholics, so we don't really care. But there's a large Catholic population in the world, and of course, the smoke came out of the chimney or whatever, and they picked their pope.
Well, it changed color, right?
I think different colors are different things, right? Is like
is
black undecided
while they're waiting?
Isn't it like brown? Flush it down. Yellow, let it mellow. Oh wait,
I don't know. I just think it's black for a little bit until they decide, and then it changes to a different color when they've made a decision.
That's right. Well, it's Pope Francis, as you know, and he'll be, speaking of which, he will be on our end of the year list. He passed away April 21st, and the College of Cardinals, Jason, they convened in Vatican City to select his successor. So on May 8th, 2025, white smoke rose from the Sistine Chapel, signaling a historic shift for the Catholic Church. As you probably already know, for centuries, Italians dominated the leadership of the Roman Catholic Church, with 217 of the 267 popes hailing from Italy. I didn't realize it was even that high of a ratio, but
I didn't even realize there's that many popes.
Well, the Catholic Church's been around for a while, I guess. Yeah,
I know, but that's just.
Well, they enter it kind of young. I'm sorry, they enter. That's the exact opposite. They enter.
Is it?
Yeah, they enter the popehood, whatever it's called, papacy or something,
papacy.
They enter it late in their life, so I guess they kind of rotate them through them quickly. But no American, Jason, this is where we're getting. This is the first. No Americans ever worn the Pope crown, and that changed when 69-year-old. So he's, he could have 20 years doing this gig. The 69-year-old Cardinal Robert Francis Prevost. He's a Chicago native. He is now Pope Leo the 14th.
So why did they change their names?
Who knows? I don't know. Because now they leave their human form behind, and now they're blessed by God and move forward as the spiritual leader. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I don't know.
I didn't realize that.
So good for Pope Leo, and wish him all the best and good health and all that good stuff. So anyways, so the first year, folks, this gives you an idea of, dear listeners, what we're getting at. This is a first. In all the years of popeness, this is the first American pope. That's pretty big, I guess. Yeah,
I would think so. I'm not sure what the requirements are to be a pope, but
only God knows, and the voters. Yeah.
Okay,
right.
So we got Kyle K.G. Muldoon Jr., born in August 2024, faced a dire challenge. Carbamoyl phosphate synthetase 1, or the CPS1 deficiency, a rare metabolic disorder causing toxic ammonia buildup that ravages the liver and impairs neurological development. The only proven long-term fix is a liver transplant, but it wasn't an option until KG's first birthday. Fortunately, a pioneering team at the University of Pennsylvania had developed an untested gene editing therapy. When KJ's case surfaced, over 45 scientists, doctors, and biotech firms, of course, the firms, united to create a life-saving treatment against a ticking clock. Using CRISPR, the Nobel Prize-winning gene editing tool, they pinpointed KJ's disease-causing mutation and crafted a therapy to correct a single letter in the genetic code. The FDA bending standard protocols greenlit the emergency use of the novel approach. KJ's parents faced a heart-wrenching decision: rely on medications to sustain him until a transplant, or risk an unprecedented therapy. They chose CRISPR, and on February 25th, 2025, KJ received his first infusion, followed by a dose in March and April. Now 9.5 months old, KJ shows no major side effects, is thriving, and is hitting developmental milestones. While a full cure remains uncertain, his condition is partially reversed. So this is the first gene editing therapy designed just for him.
That's insane. So long story short, guys, they changed a single letter in the genetic code to stop this metabolic disorder from forming.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's fantastic. This is the kind of stuff I'm talking about. So today's worst is the best. We're going to talk about 10 firsts, and we'll pick which one we think is the least, the worst, the least first, the worst first. Yeah, the worst first. Okay, this is our first worst first, Jay. All right. Yeah, so far this is a really, really great. I love this kind. I freaking love this kind. We got more of these stories in this episode, but this is just amazing, Jay, that they can just literally go into the gene editing. I'm all for it. I'm sorry. Just go in there and fix it. Fix it. I don't want my kid to have this issue. Fix it. Please go in there and twiddle and fiddle. And anyone that's against this, that means you're against heart transplants. That means you're against Tylenol. You know what I mean? Like at some point,
or insulin. I'm a type 1 diabetic.
Yeah, Jason takes insulin to stay alive.
I've taken insulin since 14.
That's right.
And the treatment has developed a little bit over the years. Not a ton, but the medical devices is what's improved the most. Rather than the therapy. Yeah, wouldn't it have been great to have CRISPR, and they would have known I had a genetic defect at some point? I could very well likely have the autoimmune response where I would become a type 1 diabetic, fix it, and my life would be infinitely better.
I don't get how they do it. Obviously, you have to Google all that stuff, but
CRISPR's been around for a while, but it's the CRISPR technology has been around for quite a while, but it's always, it's still in developmental stages. Some people suggest other countries are a little bit more aggressive with it.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you were a parent, you are a parent.
Yeah.
You are a parent, but if you're in the situation, not knowing the end of this story as it is right now, but let's say you were, hey, we've got this new thing. Are you willing to try it on your kid? Would you do it, or would you wait for the transplant?
Well, let's say, for an example, I had the option of getting, say, a pancreas transplant.
Right.
And then have to have autoimmune suppressing drugs the rest of my life, or a CRISPR that would just snip the genetic code and then be cured of it. I would risk this. Having lived with diabetes my whole life, I absolutely would take the risk because it's a sucky disease, as most diseases are.
Of course. All right. Yeah, that's fantastic. Good stuff. And we wish KJ, that's
Mm-hmm.
Kyle Muldoon Jr. I guess the J is Junior, so probably the dad's name is Kyle, of course. So we wish little Kyle full health, and let's keep our eyes and ears on his development. Jay will come back, and hopefully he won't make the end of the year list. All right. Sorry, bad joke. All right. I got the next one. What if the answer to the worsening climate crisis, have you heard of this one, Jay, wasn't buried underneath?
My whole life.
No, but yeah, I'm not talking about the worsening climate crisis itself, but what if it wasn't buried underground, but floating in the air around us? Sounds too easy, doesn't it? Perhaps not. Now, this one's really cool. Drawing inspiration from photosynthesis, Cambridge University researchers unveiled a solar-powered direct air capture called the DAC reactor in February of 2025. This device acts like a high-tech sponge, absorbing carbon dioxide at night through advanced filters and using sunlight by day to trigger a chemical reaction that transforms it into signas, which are a vital component for fuels, chemicals, and pharmaceuticals. Now, this gets even better. While carbon capture and storage is a known climate solution, what sets this reactor apart? Now, most CCS systems burn fossil fuels to drive the capture process, undermining the process or the purpose. The Cambridge reactor, however, operates solely on sunlight, needing no cables, batteries, or fossil fuels. So unlike traditional CCS, which captures CO2 underground with potential safety risks, this DAC reactor eliminates transportation and storage concerns. It delivers a groundbreaking dual benefit, capturing harmful CO2 while producing clean energy in a single innovative process. Wow. This is the kind of stuff, like, I don't know if whoever's listening to this, this is what I'm talking about. And I know people are much smarter than I could ever be. And I really have my faith. I don't have my faith in a lot of things in this world, but I have my faith in people who know what the frick they're doing. And say what you want. Yes, fossil fuels won't be around forever. And I love that humans are so good at figuring, okay, look, we got to figure out something. And they thought, well, why don't we grab it from the frickin' air, CO2, and make that into energy? That, to me, Jay, what do you think? That just blows me away. That's so cool.
Yeah, I think I've heard something similar, even more locally. I feel like there was something in the Whistler area a couple of years ago that sounds very similar to what they're doing here. You're basically scrubbing the air.
Yeah.
For excess, well, in this case, it's the CO2, and then transforming it into something useful.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, I think it's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, there's not much more to say, but keep going, Cambridge. Love it. Love hearing that kind of stuff. Now, this one I did know about. You knew about this one too.
Yeah, I like this one.
All right.
So, the dire wolf, more than just the fierce canine muse for the HBO's Game of Thrones, was a dominant predator that once stalked North America. Extinct for 10,000 to 13,000 years, this hypercarnivore vanished until April 7th, 2025, when Colossal Biosciences, a Dallas-based biotech firm, stunned the world with the dire wolf. And the dire wolf had been resurrected. But how? By extracting ancient DNA from a 13,000-year-old tooth and a 72,000-year-old skull. Yeah. Colossal reconstructed two complete dire wolf genomes, comparing these to the gray wolf, their closest kin. Scientists edited the genes, maybe similar to the CRISPR that we talked about earlier, but they edited the genes to restore the dire wolf's unique traits.
So they took two partial DNAs and kind of like Frankenstein them together, and then they almost like they filled in the gaps a little bit, like
or they took say there was 100 genes in the first DNA and 100 in the 13,000-year-old, 100 in the 72,000-year-old, and one was missing with the other one.
Yeah, like missing the fingernails
or whatever.
The teeth DNA, or it's just crazy how they.
Yeah.
Ugh, it's amazing. Okay, yeah, keep going.
So the modified DNA was inserted into a domestic dog's egg cell, and embryos were implanted in surrogates, yielding 3 pups, males Romulus and Remus, and female Khaleesi. Not perfect replicas, but close. Skepticism and ethical concerns swirl around Colossus's feet, with fears of ecological havoc. The company insists the wolves won't roam free, housing them instead on a 2,000-acre preserve certified by the American Humane Society and USDA. Yeah.
Well, this is fascinating. So they're on a preserve, fair enough, and that's fair because I get that's a fair argument. Like we're told not to bring fruit across the border because it could wreck.
Well, there is examples in the past where they will go, "Oh, we have too many,
whatever
here, so we'll bring in a predatory
and then
animal to get rid of it," and then it just completely does more harm than good.
Yeah.
So I guess it's a safe thing to do because they don't want a whole bunch of dire wolves eating out, like overtaking areas, wrecking the ecosystem.
So here's the question I have right away. I mean, you're probably already thinking it, maybe, or our listeners are. Can they do this with early man?
Oh yeah, I think they already are. I'm not sure about Neanderthal man per se, but I think I've worked with a.
I think I've worked with a couple of them.
Yeah, I think there's a lot going on behind the scenes that we're not privy to, as they say.
Do you really think that's happening? And this is the public knowledge, but then there's Jay, this is not supposed to be a conspiracy episode. We're sticking.
I'm not. I literally think that we are not. We just don't have access to information. Because why would they say something when there is so many ethical? They're going to work out the hiccups and then present it to the public. They're not going to present to the public all the, the mistakes or the half human, the deformed people or animals or whatever. They're not going to expose themselves that way. They're going to wait until they perfected it and then tell everybody about it. Who knows? How many times did the people that did the dire wolves? How many times did they screw up before they had success? I don't know.
Maybe they must have worked on talked rats about it or something. They probably worked on rats, rabbits. Who knows what they cloned or. This is essentially cloning. Is this at the end of the day? Is this what this almost is in the sense? The term cloning it seems like an exact copy. I get it, but they've taken DNA, impregnated an animal, and then they put that DNA in the egg cell, and they put that egg cell and embryos into a surrogate, and then the surrogate gave us puppies.
Yeah, it's pretty close to cloning, isn't it?
Isn't that?
I mean, it might be a slightly different definition, but it's.
So here's a question I have for you.
Pretty close.
Are they able to take my DNA right now and make another me right now?
Yeah. Sounds like it. And like I say, I suspect it's happening. Okay, CRISPR, my understanding is they're doing this in China.
Oh, really? Eh?
Yeah. They are improving on their math.
I've heard about that. I've heard about
things. Yeah. And, we're training them to be really good gymnastics people. But is it the training or is it the gene editing?
Can we gene edit ourselves right now as living creatures to be smarter?
I'm not sure about smarter, but I know I have heard the guy that kind of pioneered CRISPR, he's done his own gene editing. That's my understanding. Really? Yeah, on himself.
What would you? What could you edit? I'm trying to think what you could do. Like your eyesight get better, maybe, or
sure.
I suspect. I would just like to have like memory recall, or how would that be done though? So you don't remember everything. So your brain goes crazy. You know what I mean? Is there a reason why we don't recall everything? Is it like a safety mechanism, or else your brain would be so full? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, you know how they say butterflies can see however many different colors that we can't see. Our visual range is very limited.
Right.
If we could see what butterflies see, apparently we wouldn't even move. We'd be so overwhelmed with what it is that is in front of us.
That's what I mean.
So I'm sure there's a protective, like we are interpreting the world around us to best benefit us as a species so that we can survive.
So you got to be careful. If you give yourself too much quote-unquote powers, it might be overwhelming.
Yeah.
My last question on this is just so fascinating. I'm just picking. I'm also, when I ask you, I'm asking the listener to think, right?
Yeah.
If you were, would you let them take your DNA to make a clone of you? You're birthed from a surrogate mother, so you're going to be birthed naturally, whatever that, you know what I mean? But
as long as I can have notes about the stupid things I've done in my life now, and I can reference those things and make different.
So here's the question: is if they took an exact DNA clone, because you have DNA and I have DNA, so that's what they take the DNA and they make another Ryan, another Jason, right? So my question is, this is where it gets weird. is how much of my DNA genetic makeup makes me Ryan versus just the experiences. And I'd be interested to see, because I should be alive for another 20 years. So if they made me right now, what a fascinating thing it would be to watch me being raised by two loving parents, just say like a normal home, just to see what that Ryan would do with his choices, how he would do at school, just raised in a different home and upbringing, not better or worse, just different, but it's a safe, normal, kind of standard childhood, and just see what he chooses to listen to, sports he gets into, and see, is it because of Ryan, or his upbringing, or it'd be a fascinating thing just to watch.
I mean, they do kind of do studies like that with you got identical twins.
I know,
separated at birth, and how similar and or different they can be, but they're obviously not in the exact same environment. And even when twins are in basically the same environment, they can be drastically different. People be in the same home, have the same food basically, and exposure to experience.
Yeah.
But they could be very different people.
Yeah, well, yeah, and I grant that. Of course, I guess what I'm trying to say, here's the thing that I think isn't nurture. Yeah, is a person's temperament. And what I mean by that is, I suspect if you took a DNA for DNA me and put me in a home that was agnostic or atheist, yeah, I would have different experiences, of course, because I wasn't raised that way. So I'd have different choices in life. I'd go to maybe different parties or have different friends or different life experiences, which is fine. I wouldn't be blown away by that because that would just be a natural, like, of course, that Ryan or version of Ryan 2.0, he would have different life choices and different moral compasses, so to speak. But I wonder if my temperament would be the same. Because is my temperament, I'm not saying I have a good or a bad one. I think I have a pretty good one, but it all depends. But I think I have a pretty good one. So I'm wondering if that temperament, so if 70-year-old Ryan meets 20-year-old Ryan in 20 years, would I recognize the temperament of myself in that clone? Or would I be a jerk? You know what I mean? Like that's what I want to know. So how much of our DNA that what I'm getting at is,
I hear what you're saying.
This is the free will argument. This is the free will argument. How much of who I am is truly, sorry, this is, you make 1,000 of me, we're all going to be the same temperaments, the same kind of intelligence level.
It would be similar. I think it would be similar.
So isn't that kind of,
but your temperament would be tempered, not to use the word twice, but it would be modified based on the type of exposure to things.
I understand. I totally get it, which I know what you're saying.
So it would be molded, right? So if you have, let's pretend you're really kind-hearted and empathetical, but you got beat up every day.
Sure.
Well, how much of that can persevere a certain amount of aggression without shaping who you are? But I think fundamentally your temperament would be would be similar.
Yeah. And
your reaction
would
be based on the nurturing environment in which you are placed into. And then that goes to the idea, not to do conspiracies necessarily, but the idea of reincarnation.
Yeah.
The idea of people who think I guess the past lives, right? Reincarnation.
Past lives.
And they recognize things or.
Yeah, fascinating. I love these thought processes. And my last question is for hypothetical. If I would love to observe that, let's say the company that does this lets me observe almost like a Truman Show. I get to observe this growth of this individual just to see how they're doing in school, just basics of how they do in school, how they're doing at sports, how they do with relationships, how they do with their parents and siblings, to see, I see myself. I'd be the same way. And in that situation, I could say I'd do the same thing. And then the question is, if 20-year-old Ryan would like to meet 7-year-old Ryan, and would you do it? Would you like to meet each other? And that'd be kind of a fascinating discussion. So what's your life like? And that 20-year-old version of yourself would see the 7-year-old version of me 50 years later and think to themselves, well, that's how it might look like.
So with that thinking in mind, I mean, we can kind of do that experiment to ourselves, regardless of what age we're at. Is, the trajectory of our life, the direction that we really want to be in? If I was to meet my 70-year-old self, would I be okay with the decisions I'm making? I mean, this is just a thought experiment. But then it also goes back to the idea of past lives, reincarnation, or whatever. Maybe we have had these experiences and maybe we've lost that remembrance of those things.
Yeah.
If you believe in a reincarnation or, past lives, or maybe I've got things to learn, maybe there's some of those seeds in our minds and in our hearts and our souls that are already there. We just have to kind of tap into it or whatever.
All right, good stuff. Next one. Love him or hate him, Jay. Love him or hate him. Donald Trump carved his name into history as the first U.S. president since Grover Cleveland to serve non-consecutive terms. And I wondered about that. That when he lost after his election and then his 4-year service, he lost his re-election bid. I wondered if when he was going to win again, that he, as the 47th president in January, he was sworn in. He became the first. Well, two things. First, actually, the first since Grover Cleveland, and he's the oldest commander-in-chief at inauguration at the age of 78 years and 220 days, surpassing Joe Biden's record at the time, 78 years, 61 days, set in 2021. So beyond claiming Cleveland's mantle and age record, Trump broke another barrier as the first, and this one's fun, the first convicted felon elected to president. Despite these polarizing milestones, his second term ushers in a bold new political chapter poised to spark debate and scrutiny for decades. Love him or hate him, these are facts. He's the oldest president. He's the first one since Grover Cleveland to serve 2 terms in a non-consecutive fashion. And he is officially a convicted felon as president. So there you go. All right. I will say Trump comes up again, folks. Don't worry. This is a big year for him. Okay, you got the next one, Jay.
Okay, so for years, private companies have chased the elusive goal of lunar landings, often meeting with failure. In February 2024, Houston-based initiative Machines made history with Odysseus lander, the first U.S. spacecraft to reach the moon in over 50 years. However, its triumph was marred by a flawed descent. Another failed attempt to get to the moon 50 years later. Okay.
They figured it out 50 years ago, and then we've had a zinger of a time. So, yeah, this one failed, but it's not over yet, Jay. It's not over yet.
Okay. The 14-foot craft landed too fast, tipping onto its side. Only if somebody could do the math.
Okay.
Yet, on March 2nd, 2025, sorry.
That's okay.
On March 2nd, 2025, Firefly Aerospace achieved a historic milestone. Their Blue Ghost Mission 1 launched January 15, 2025, carrying NASA payloads to collect lunar samples and images, touched down flawlessly at Mare Crisium at 3:34 a.m. Whose time? On the moon?
Moon's time.
Is that Pacific? Moon's time?
Yeah.
With no technical glitches, Firefly became the first private firm to execute a perfect lunar landing, signaling that the private sector may indeed be poised to lead lunar exploration and commerce.
Okay, so did you hear
I'm glad
about
we
this?
Included commerce. No, did not hear any of this.
Yeah, this is fascinating. I think this was almost swept under the carpet. I don't know why this didn't make more news. Long story short, a private company, Blue Ghost Mission 1, this is from the Firefly Aerospace Group. They landed on the moon with some payload and for NASA, and they got some lunar samples and images. Now, why did we not put a man in that ship? Why not just jump out, walk around, kick some dust, and walk? Why can't we put a freaking? How is this
only the early people had the bravery to do it.
Okay, folks, just go look up the lunar module. You tell me that thing landed on the moon. It got off. Anyway, here's the thing. This is tricky because we have evidence here. This is the first successful moon landing, Jane, 50 years, and it didn't even have people on it.
And I never heard of it.
And we never heard of it. Yeah,
they're just like quietly doing. If we fail, then nobody will know about it. If we succeed, well, we'll take some notes and improve on it. But let's not tell anybody really. Let's not really advertise it because we don't want to advertise that we haven't landed anything in 50 years.
Yeah.
There's a new thing coming out within the last day. Rumors is that China is going to release video and pictures of lunar. This is, of course, out there. But the reason why we haven't been in the moon is because there are structures and we've been told we're not wanted there. And apparently China is going to be at the forefront of disclosure. I just read that like yesterday, literally. I had no idea this was going to be on our list today, but
China.
They want to be at the forefront and just say, look, the reason we're not there is because we've been told we're not wanted.
Well, if any country knows the feeling of not being wanted, it's China. All right. Well, hey, bring it on. Bring it on.
I say it too. Like, let's find out. Come on. What are they so worried about? We either landed or we didn't. We either can do it again or we can't.
Well, speaking of aliens, we have aliens on this planet, Jay. Why don't you talk about this one?
I just read the moon one.
Oh, you did? Okay. Let me. Hey, Ryan. What do you think about this one?
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of the colossal squid?
Yeah. That's cool.
Have you seen a video of it?
Yeah.
Maybe for our right here for our YouTube viewers, we'll show it. So this thing, Jay, is incredible. So, Jay, the colossal squid is 7 meters long and it weighs 1,100 pounds. And it's the planet's heaviest invertebrate. It was discovered in 1925, but little since then has been known beyond remains found in predator stomachs. So why is this thing so hard to see, Jay? Well, it's because they live 500 to 2,000 meters below the ocean surface. Of course, at these depths, there's crushing pressure, icy temperatures, and total darkness defy even cutting-edge exploration technology. Now, this is their description. They have soccer ball-sized eyes, hypersensitive to light. They also, this makes them shy from researcher gear. So, they see light, they take off. But a century after the discovery, a breakthrough came through, Jay, in March 9th of this year. The Schmidt Ocean Institute's underwater robot exploring near the South Sandwich Islands in the South Atlantic captured the first ever live footage of a juvenile, so baby colossal squid, just 1 foot long, at a depth of 600 meters, which is about 2,000 feet. This historic glimpse has marine biologists electrified, unlocking new research possibilities for a creature long shrouded in mystery. So here's the video. So if you're watching this on YouTube, folks, I dare say I don't think all of our viewers or listeners have seen this before. So here we go. So here's the squid here. Look at this thing. It's almost translucent, isn't it? It's got like a glowing insides. They grow up to 23 feet long. They can weigh half a ton. This is a smaller version of this thing. Does it look like alien to you? Almost alien?
Alien is the word that comes to my mind. It does look very alien.
Wow. So we've only seen this inside the whales. That's
how we knew it existed.
Yeah. Well, how we wouldn't know it existed. Cool. So they gutted a whale and this thing pours out. Oof. Wow. That's it. Yeah. There's the colossal squid. Pretty cool. That was a baby one. But again, for our audio listeners, just like it has like a glowing insides. It's almost transparent. It's weird.
Yeah. Weird tentacles in the front and these little weird things in the front. And the tentacles in the back, but also these weird things in the front.
Wild. Yeah, the underwater or underwater exploration there's still stuff we don't know about, man. There's stuff under there.
Oh yeah. And I was kind of tongue in cheek earlier, but it is almost as difficult as trying to get outer space to go to those depths. It is very tricky.
Yeah. All right, Jay, got the next one.
Parkinson's disease, the world's fastest growing neurodegenerative disorder, affects over 10 million people with no cure in sight, but a groundbreaking discovery may shift that reality. April 13, 2025, a science study detailed how scientists at Australia's Walter and Eliza Hall Institute of Medical Research use cryo-electron microscopy and mass spectrometry to observe PINK1, a protein linked to early onset Parkinson's binding to mitochondria. Though experts have long known PINK1 mutations drive the disease, its interaction with damaged mitochondria remained unseen until now. This breakthrough revealed the 4-step process of pink's engagement with faulty mitochondria, offering critical insights into its activation. By decoding this mechanism, researchers can now explore ways to deactivate it, potentially slowing Parkinson's progression and opening doors to treatments that could halt the disease entirely.
That'd be amazing. That's crazy. This like micro, like it's not surgery, but the way we're able to get to this micro level of poking and prodding.
Yeah, to be able to do these observations.
And they're like, so basically, no, hey, you pink thing, stop bugging that mitochondria, stop binding yourself to that. So they're figuring out ways to stop that from binding. Get away.
And maybe even further in the future, using CRISPR to
make it so
stop that. So stop pink altogether, pink one altogether.
Yeah.
And or make the mitochondria susceptible to the pink one.
Yeah. Have some sort of barrier or some sort of wall up on it. But that's, boy, can you imagine just Parkinson's? I believe that is what, of course, Michael J. Fox has, right? Well, hopefully they figure this out. Maybe, can you imagine can they reverse this condition? Did the article say there's a reversal?
Well, if they can find a way to disrupt the pink
at least
one,
the progress,
engaging with the mitochondria.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how you could reverse that.
Yeah. All right. You got the, my last one.
Yeah.
This one's fascinating. So I'm going to read it, then I'll give you the layman term after what this means. It's a little bit difficult to understand at first, I admit. The James Webb Telescope, we all know that, stunned astronomers in January when it spotted the JADIS GS-Z14-0, a luminous galaxy only 13.5 billion light years away, the farthest ever observed. Seen as it was when the universe was just 300 million years old, barely 2% of its current age. Try to wrap your head around that, okay? So they're observing, I don't get this stuff. It's weird, space and time. So they're observing the universe when it was 2% of its current age. This find upended galactic evolutionary theories. I'll tell you how in a second here. So there was a follow-up study that was published this year in astronomy and astrophysics, which deepened the mystery. Using Chile's Atacama Large Millimeter/Submillimeter Array, which is ALMA, researchers detected oxygen and heavy metals in that galaxy. Typically, Jay, young galaxies brim with light elements like hydrogen and helium, only forming heavier ones like oxygen through stellar evolution and supernova explosions. Yet this galaxy boasts 10 times more heavy elements than expected, hinting it had been forging stars for 100 million years before observation. So what does this all mean, Jay? Long story short, the universe as we know it, the galaxies as we know it, it's actually shorter than we expected. So we're younger than we thought we were, which is kind of a big deal by hundreds of millions of years. Things aren't as old as we thought they were. That's mind-bending.
So maybe I'm not as old as I think I am.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, hey, JADIS GS-Z14-0. You look 100 million years younger than you. So yeah. So this study suggests, Jason, the galaxies matured far faster than previously believed, rewriting overall our cosmic history.
That's interesting. Like the implications of that, trying to understand how that, I don't know, intersects with what we understand and where we're at with all these things.
Isn't it amazing that space and everything that exists just for us to observe? So weird, man. Think about it. So these scientists in Chile using these machines and telescopes and all this whatever data collecting, like they're looking at this galaxy, Jason, 13.5 billion light years away. That galaxy is full of nothingness just for us to say, hey, gee, we're younger than we thought we were. What is this? What does this all mean? I don't. Yeah. Anyway.
So are you suggesting it wouldn't be doing that if I wasn't around to observe it?
That's what I mean. I don't know why. anything is observable. I don't know why space is so
It's
freaking
required.
big. Well, yeah,
But
why is it required to be so freaking big? It would make more
And
sense for
old.
us to be a planet
Young.
like Truman Show, meaning Truman just thought he could never leave his city, right? Like
Mhm.
it would make more sense that we existed in a planet with literally the observable universe was just literally the dome. And we're like, oh, we don't know why we're here, but we're here. And we got to figure life out. But the idea that we can look beyond the dome, so to speak, just to see nothing of
But
everything.
maybe
everything
the
and nothing.
outskirts of the galaxy is still a part of the dome that we're under.
Well, I know. Are we looking at
Massive dome?
I
Like
don't know,
like
man.
a sphere, like the Las Vegas sphere.
Well, yeah.
It's just the dome is just much bigger than we thought. It's much bigger than the Truman Show dome. This
It's all
dome is
weird.
100 billion years or whatever that number was.
Every time we get down these fun rabbit holes, I always say it's weird that we shouldn't exist. Existence shouldn't exist. It doesn't. Why does existence exist? Why? It makes more sense that nothing should be like nothing should exist. Why does anything? Why is there existence? Why? It doesn't make sense that we exist. Why is that happening? What would be the purpose of that? Why? My brain's about to explode. You get what I'm asking? Like it doesn't.
Yeah. To observe.
But who? But who's?
So
Are we being observed? Are we being observed? The same way we observe butterflies, birds on a tree. There's bird watchers, right?
I think it's all interconnected. So there's like this main source of whatever intelligence, let's say. And that intelligence continues to become more intelligent as things observe other things and learn. So our interactions build think of like the internet, right? There's all these connections. So butterflies are observing and they're downloading that information and those observations. And the single source of intelligence and creation is continuing to grow and develop based on that butterfly's observations in its life and the tiger's life and our life. And so all of these things that we're experiencing is data collection for the single source, whatever that might be, of intelligence. So it continues to become more intelligent as things around us continue to collect data and experiences. So as we observe the whatever, however many billions of years ago, as we observe that and gain information about that, the single source creator or whatever that might be is now gaining even more information and understanding. Does that make any sense?
I don't know if anything makes sense.
I have a theory in my mind and I can never properly
no
it is. I do have a theory. I can never properly vocalize it. As soon as I start doing it, I can intuitively hear it in my mind and it makes sense intuitively. But as soon as I start sharing, it gets lost in translation because the language is a barrier, apparently, to be able to vocalize it.
No, you did fine. You did good. You did good.
I just don't know how to flesh that out a little bit better.
Well, Jay, you got the last one. This is more grounded. We're getting a little bit more back to Trump again. He did a big thing here again. This was a little bit more grounded. Back to earth. Here we go.
Okay, here we go. Presidential pardons have historically freed mob bosses, whistleblowers, political allies, but in 2025 marked a bold new precedent: a pardon for a corporation. On March 28, 2025, President Trump granted full and unconditional clemency to HDR Global Trading, the operator of cryptocurrency exchanges BitMEX, alongside its 3 co-founders and 1 employee. On January 15, 2025, BitMEX faced a $100 million criminal fine plus $130 million in civil penalties for violating the Bank Secrecy Act by operating without a proper anti-money laundering program. This unprecedented corporate pardon ignited fierce political debate, raising profound ethical and legal questions about extending clemency to a profit-driven entity. I never heard of this.
This is new for me too. So
when was that?
March 28th, Trump
Oh, wow.
So the first here, folks,
I never heard of it.
is that he granted a pardon to a corporation. So Trump, another first for him.
You know the reason why we probably didn't hear anything of it? It's because people on both sides benefited from that clemency.
Yeah, but I bet
And
you.
they're like, Q Trump, because, me as on, even though I hate you, hate.
Yeah, sure.
I'm grateful for this clemency, and I never heard of it.
I suspect some Democrats are cryptocurrency
benefiting.
I can't imagine cryptocurrency is only a Republican coin or currency. I'm sure both sides of the political party, there's people involved.
Yeah, operating without a proper anti-money laundering program.
All right. So, well, I mean, that's setting a precedent. So now we can maybe the idea here, of course, is whether you like it or not, whether you like him or not. Again, Trump is setting unprecedented protocols here by saying, hey, not only can people be pardoned, corporations, like you could pardon McDonald's, you could pardon IBM or Apple could be pardoned by a president. That's crazy. Okay. So here is the list, and we're going to pick what we think is the worst. We've got the first American Pope. We've got the little child who got the liver fix from CRISPR. We have Cambridge University figuring out carbon dioxide fueling, help with our fuels, which is great. We have the dire wolf and the whole thing that brings the idea of bringing things back to life that were once gone. The dodo bird, Jay, might make a comeback. Donald Trump is the first U.S. president to have 2 non-consecutive terms since Grover Cleveland. I didn't look up when that happened. I should have looked that up. It's probably 1800s, I bet, or something like that. Grover Cleveland was the president from 1800s. 1885 to 1889, then again in 1893 to 1897. So just like Trump, he missed that 1 4-year period. Okay, interesting. Yeah, that's been a lot. That's a long spell, Jay. That's like 130 years. Wow. Okay, so only 2 people have done it. And then he's the first convicted felon as a president, which is unfortunate because no other president has ever committed a crime. He's the first one to ever commit a crime. Every other president has done everything completely by the book, of course. And what was the other thing he did in this one as well? Oh, yeah, oldest. He's the oldest president. Okay, now, I got a feeling that oldest president thing is going to be a while before that's broken. I got a feeling the next string of presidents coming through are going to be younger, back really to the JFK type days. You know what I mean? 40, 50-year-olds are going to be, yeah. All right. Then after that, we have, the first unmanned craft in 50 years to the moon. That's fantastic.
That we know of.
This is fun. The colossal squid, that's a great one. Parkinson's disease, that's also very cool. The age of the galaxy discovery, very interesting, of our universe. And lastly, again, President Trump with the pardoning of a corporation's. Yes, I know. I'm sure 99% of our listeners are going to say, well, Ryan, you got to pick one of the Trump ones. And I am. Not because it's Trump. Whether it was President Schnog, it doesn't matter. What I mean by this is these are first, and strictly to this year. I could have easily made this list, Jason, with just 8 and made it a little bit harder. But I think the other ones are so cool and so beneficial to humanity too, as well, like the human stuff, our idea of who we are in the universe, the idea of bringing back animals to life, all that stuff is just fascinating. So I admit the worst one for me is the last one that we picked out was the idea that we can pardon corporations. I don't know how I feel about that, to be honest with you. Pardoning people, sure, but corporations as a whole, that's odd because it's kind of like a big wand waving of everyone under this corporation is pardoned. So that's, to me, is the worst one. Doesn't mean I hate the idea, but out of these 10, that's the one I feel the least yay about.
I'm picking a Trump one as well, but a different one.
Oh, which one's that?
The other one. Of the 2, it's going to be the other one.
The oldest?
So what?
Yeah, I know. That's an easy one. I figured one of us would pick of, yeah.
It's, okay, that happens to be your age.
Yeah. And I know this wasn't the most fun picks for the worst. I knew most of our listeners probably would have guessed we would have picked that. But like I said, I wanted to have a more fun episode today, fun discussions, nothing depressing in that sense of death. Those ones are coming back. I will say our death episodes, Jay, the one we did, the stage death one, for example, that was one of our highest downloaded episodes ever. So people
right?
people like death, people like conspiracies, people like true crime. It is what it is. Yeah, it was one of our highest ones. It was actually the highest downloaded episode this year, was the death episode.
Remind me the
Stage deaths, the people that fake their deaths.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. On YouTube, though, the most downloads are the music ones or big ones. Those are all very popular on YouTube. Yeah.
It's funny how the YouTube algorithms very little hits, but audible ones. Maybe it's us.
Yeah,
maybe we don't have faces for YouTube.
Well, that's true. Very true. Okay. Well, remember, in front of every silver lining, there's a cloud. And today it was Trump for both of us for this list, which will make everyone on both sides of the aisle happy because no one's going to be upset with this. Jason didn't really think it's that great for Trump being the oldest and the first that Grover guy to win 2 non-consecutive presidency terms. And for me, it was the partying of a corporation. I don't know how I feel about that. I got to work that one out.